Just in, former football player Aaron Rodgers suspended from appearing on ESPN's Pat McAfee show for the rest of the season as his feud with late-night host Jimmy Kimmel explodes after Rodgers accused him of being on the Epstein list. McAfee seems pleased with the decision. Here he is making the announcement on his show.
What we do know is the guy that stopped by yesterday caused quite a conversation.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit.
Now?
Per usual.
Not like that. Yeah. So Aaron Rodgers Tuesday, season 4 is done.
Yeah. Complete. Good season.
There's going to be a lot of people that are happy with that, myself included, to be honest. With the way it ended, it got real loud. And real loud. I'm happy that that is not going to be my mentions going forward, which is great news.
So far, Rodgers has not publicly responded to the news, but other athletes have begun to weigh in on the ongoing beef between these two titans of American culture. Former basketball legend and sports commentator Charles Barkley said he'd have punched Rodgers in the face if Rodgers had accused him of being a pedophile. Let's watch.
He's crossed it a few times, but I think he's a good dude. He's a very good player. And the NBA is better with Draymond in it.
Yep. Some people say that Aaron Rodgers crossed the line with Jimmy Kimmel.
100%.
If Jimmy Kimmel had said that about you, if Aaron Rodgers had said that about you, implied that you had been on the Epstein list, how would you handle that?
I'd have punched him in the face.
What do you mean, punch him in the face?
You know what the hell punch him in the face means? I think that when you're in the limelight, people get to say things about you that goes with the territory. But that when you start comparing people, saying you're hanging out with pedophiles and people having sex with underage girls.
Dangerous, Alex.
Now, as a reminder, here's the Jimmy Kimmel monologue that started this whole Hatfield and McCoy situation when Kimmel implied that Rodgers was a tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theorist.
Needless to say, all this UFO talk has the tinfoil hatters going wild, including Green Bay whackpacker Aaron Rodgers, who offered this hot take on the Pat McAfee show.
I believe that this has been going on for a long time. Interesting timing on everything. There's a lot of other things going on in the world. Did you hear about the Epstein client list about to be released too?
What's that? What are you talking about?
There's some files that have some names on it that might be getting released pretty soon.
Oh. Might be time to revisit that concussion protocol, Aaron.
Now, mainstream outlets think they've found a pattern on this whole sex trafficking thing. Politico interviewed an expert on why, from Pizzagate to QAnon, sex trafficking conspiracy theories are so buzzy in MAGA circles. The expert claims that the obsession with alleged sex trafficking conspiracies is due to anti-Semitism, fear of the occult, and satanic panic. So I did want to play that initial... The thing that made Aaron Rodgers hate Jimmy Kimmel was Jimmy Kimmel calling him, so he did start it. Jimmy Kimmel called him a tinfoil hat guy, crazy guy, for expressing some interest in what the Epstein client list had to say. Now, that doesn't excuse Aaron Rodgers then saying Jimmy Kimmel was on the Epstein client list in response, so that's fine. That was wrong, and he's being punished for it, but I think... Sometimes when this was getting discussed, it was missing some context. Like, Jimmy Kimmel came for Aaron Rodgers because Jimmy Kimmel was acting like there's nothing to see here with the Epstein stuff.
Sure. And so then Rodgers validated Jimmy Kimmel's critique by wildly accusing him of being on the list without any evidence.
I don't think he was actually accusing him of being on it. He was
Robby.
insulting him. He was insulting
Robby,
him.
this is the problem. Like, if it's just, and again, that's a short clip. I don't know what the broader context is, but, just generally being like, oh my gosh, anybody could be on the list, and weaponizing it in these kinds of ways is exactly what is legitimate about Jimmy Kimmel's critique. Obviously, the fact of wanting to hold powerful people accountable that have gotten away with these horrible acts against underage girls is one thing. But the tone of so much of this discussion is, oh my gosh, who's going to go down next? Is my political enemy going to go down next? And I do think that there's something there to critique about the conspiratorial nature of those kinds of critiques and the attenuated nature of them from the real harms that were done to young women. And if Aaron Rodgers wanted to have a point initially that Jimmy Kimmel was too blasé about the relevance of the Epstein files, I don't think going about it by just randomly accusing people without proof of being on the list is doing him any favors.
Well, I don't think he was actually, he shouldn't have said it. I'm not disagreeing. I don't think he was actually accusing Jimmy Kimmel of it, and Jimmy Kimmel was being blasé about the Epstein list, and again, he started it. So we're all mad that Aaron Rodgers insulted, or people are mad that Aaron Rodgers really insulted Jimmy Kimmel, and he did. But that's what Jimmy Kimmel did to Aaron Rodgers in the first place, and that's why he punched back in verbally, not with actual punching. I don't condone literal violence the way Charles Barkley, whom I like and enjoy his commentary, and I don't think he's actually a violent man. I think he was making a point. I don't think he would actually have punched anybody in the face. I enjoy his commentary, but it was just that was missing some. It was not unprompted. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
So he asked for it?
Well, again, he was asking for it in terms of a reciprocal insult. No one deserves to get. We're not, I'm not doing Will Smith kind of apologizing here, where just because you said something offensive, you can get punched in the face. Of course, you cannot. And if there was actual violence, I would definitely condemn it.
But this isn't about
when you
violence.
Say something really insulting,
Wait a minute.
right? It's not. That's
this isn't about violence. This is about potentially libelous accusations that you are a pedophile and that you
powerful
consort
people
with pedophiles.
Insulting each other.
No, it's not powerful people insulting each other. It's one powerful person saying they think their views are kind of loopy, and another powerful person saying you are consorting with a pedophile. These things, I'm sorry, these are not equally weighted accusations.
If we were, and I'm sure we have, people out here calling us tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists for some of the topics we engage with, and then when
I wouldn't call them pedophiles as a consequence of bad critique. I mean, it just is what it is.
I'm not defending that.
I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers has to be excommunicated from society from all times, but I think we just have to sit with the reality that was an inappropriate response. It seems like even the people on the McAfee podcast aren't exactly missing him. I think that they feel like the juice wasn't worth the squeeze of having him around and making these kinds of comments that are filling their inboxes with hate and ruining their mentions. I mean, and that's a choice that they clearly have chosen to make, and they seem not upset about it, frankly, from that clip.
Well, that's fine, and you can't say defamatory things and get yourself or your show in trouble, but I don't know. I thought it deserved some context.
Sure, and I'll weigh in on. I didn't read that article that was opining on why there seems to be such an interest on the right in talking about and fetishizing and weaponizing these accusations of sexual misconduct, even though they are very bipartisan in nature. My theory is that you keep seeing people who are really focused on these issues, like Tim Ballard, who was behind the anti-child sex trafficking Sound and Freedom movie that itself got polarized as, liberals are mad at it because they love pedophilia and Republicans love this movie because they hate pedophilia. Well, he, of course, was sued by 5 women for sexual assault and battery. I mean, and again, you see a pattern of people who seem to be vocal about these issues in a way that is disconnected from their own personal experiences. They're not advocating for anyone in particular. They just seem to have a preoccupation with this issue, turn up to have a history of sexual misconduct themselves. And so I would attribute the interest to that. What do they say? Every accusation is an admission. Frequently, it does seem like in this space that appears to be what's happening, not with everybody, obviously, but that would be my organizing theory as to why there's this obsession with some of these prurient topics.
Yeah, I would just advise people on the right who are obsessed with this topic to pay close attention to the policy response, because there have been a lot of, and you would probably agree with this, there have been a lot of bad laws at all levels, but including the federal level, to go after sexual exploitation and sex trafficking and prostitution that vastly empower whatever you want to call it, the administrative state, the police state, the deep state, to violate due process and free speech. Actually, these laws are often voted against by some of the most kind of libertarian-leaning conservative members of Congress, like Rand Paul and Thomas Massie, et cetera, because they have important, and also by principled left-leaning congressmen who have concerns about the due process as well. Again, this is an area where our extreme people can come together and say, like, hold on, it's similar to the response to the war on terror. Yes, there are some bad actors and some really shocking and disgusting crimes, but let's not violate our own civil liberties in the course of trying to confront them and deal with them.
Indeed. Stick around. We're rising for you right after this.